I learned that style is not something I find. In fact, it is something that I build. And I want to talk about the part that people are most hungry for. If style is built, then how? What actually moves an artist from I can follow to I can lead? Because there is the gap. Most people have been fed results, projects, and taught pretty outcomes. And while they give you a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, what if one day you just want to paint whatever that is in front of you, a beautiful landscape or a beautiful flower that you happen to get as a present? And this is the part where people have not been taught how to see, choose, and lead. This, my friends, is the missing middle. A system where we need to learn to stop staring at the flower and learn what actually feeds the flower. So let's start with the first piece. Most artists can copy the look. Very few learn the ingredients behind it. You can't recreate what you can't yet see. This is probably one of the biggest shifts that I have learned in teaching, because a lot of artists come to me and they're not actually thinking about how a painting works. They're learning how to imitate, to see what it looks in the end. Because that's a huge difference. If all you can see are pretty petals, soft bleed, pretty composition, and airy feeling, all you are looking at is the outcome. And outcome are terrible teachers. It's like trying to rebuild a house just from the curtains. You can admire the curtains all day, and you can copy the color, and you can hang yours in roughly the same way, and still have no idea how the structure was built. And this is what many people are doing with painting. They are trying to reverse engineer the cake from the frosting. They're copying the bouquet without really understanding how the flowers come together, without understanding stem, structure, space, mechanics, and basically everything that is holding it together. And then they kind of wonder why it only works sometimes. Because when you are just watching for an outcome, it hides all the different invisible effects, like the softness, how you got the softness, how to create one part of the painting to be more alive than the other, where to leave space. It hides the timing, the restraint, and the sequence, which is why so many people feel like loose florals are like magic. They are trying to recreate a spell that they've never been taught how to read. And that is exhausting, because then you are not painting with understanding, you're painting with hope. Hoping this brush angle works, hoping the water ratio is correct, hoping that the flower opens up the same way, and hoping that this one finally feels effortless. It is such a draining way to learn. So what changes? And start asking, how do I create that effect? That's really a different eye, because now you are reading the ingredient. You will notice that softness comes from timing, movement comes from pressure, and freshness comes from stopping earlier, and openness comes from space, and mood comes from what was left out. Now painting feels a lot less like luck, and suddenly you have something to work with. Not just starting at the leaves anymore, you're really working deep down underneath from the root. But here is a better question. Seeing alone is not enough. The question is, can you choose what you see?
What makes copying hard is that the expected outcome can feel like progress for a while. Knowing how to follow the colors, the flower, and the softness, or even the shape. And for that minute, it really feels like you're getting somewhere, because the painting is starting to resemble the artwork or the artist that you admired. But resemblance is not the same as understanding. And this is the trap, because sometimes when you can see a finished product, you end up learning the surface of that particular painting instead of the entire structure underneath. So this is where the moment water behaves differently, or you notice that the mark that you have made seems to open a little wider than you expected, or the shadow is going in too heavy. You don't know what changed and how to actually troubleshoot. And this feels like a very discouraging place to learn from because it makes painting feel random. And instead of random, what you want is expressive. So many artists end up getting the good result once, but you can't really explain how to get it again. You might get the muddy result, and then the next time you don't know what to do to troubleshoot that. So then the whole process starts feeling a lot like guesswork, dressed up as practice. And that's why I keep coming back to this idea that outcomes are terrible teachers. They tend to hide the cause and effect inside of watercolor, where it's a conversation and interaction, where you are responding instead of reacting. A lot of what watercolor does as well is that so many of the decisions are hidden. They hide in what makes the edge feel soft, or they hide in what makes this flower breathe and feel spacious while other flowers feel crowded. They hide when it feels like a painting can be open instead of cluttered. And once you can't see the cause, you end up just painting with hope, hoping that the water ratio works or the brush angle works, and hoping that the flower is going to open the same way as the tutorial, and hoping that it will feel effortless. This is a very exhausting cycle because honestly, this is where I feel like Rochelle's story is so useful here. She didn't come in saying some vague thing like, I want to be better. She named her friction, like placing shadows in wet and choosing detail, or learning from tutorials and wanting to loosen the base layer or improving composition. All of these important points is the beginning of an artist moving from I want the look to I want to understand what is actually creating the effect. And then she talks about printing out the artist passage, highlighting some of her weaknesses, and thinking about concentrating on them and seeing growth through that passage. This is not something that many artists are able to show in terms of an outcome. It doesn't feel finished or flashy, but this is exactly what it looks like on the inside when an artist starts learning the ingredients instead of just admiring the frosting on a cupcake. And there is also a post where she says, I did not make my hero flower larger. I need to slow down and I need to think through each step. This right here is the shift because she's no longer saying that I'm bad at it, but instead she's thinking about what she needs to emphasize. She's trying to understand hierarchy, and she wants to understand why composition reading is the way it is. And this is what I mean by ingredients, because once you start seeing the ingredients, your pantry is going to feel a lot less like a slot machine. You're going to ask better questions. You're going to think about what created this effect. At which area of my painting feels heavy? What is changing when I add paint on this part of the flower? And this feels like something to work with because now your painting can teach you. And this is exactly the first phase that I am putting inside of our academy, because so many artists were taught to copy outcomes, but very few are taught to know how to read the root system that is underneath all of these outcomes. Because if you can't see it, you can't recreate it on purpose.
You know the techniques, but can you choose in real time? This is the difference between what makes a pretty painting and a personal one, intentional decisions. I think that this is the part that humbles everybody because knowing is clean and choosing is messy. Knowing means that you understand wet on wet, what your brush does, how to paint a flower, and what it actually looks like. But choosing means what now, what gets emphasis, what needs less, and what deserves more space. And what do I leave behind if I want to leave it unresolved on purpose? What do I stop touching? What am I actually feeling when I recreate this space? And where does the painting get honest? Because this is the moment where you are actually noticing whether or not you are creating or reacting. Honestly, lots of artists are reacting. It's not because they are bad, but rather they are scared. Scared to leave space, scared to stop earlier, scared that the painting won't be enough, filling up the whole page, and scared that their choice will be the wrong one. So they add, they fix, they fill, they adjust, and slowly paint the life out of the thing. This is not an issue with technique, and collecting more techniques is not going to solve this. This is really about trust. And knowing technique without knowing how to choose is like knowing where the pedals of your car is, but then not knowing which ones to tap when the real traffic comes. Or knowing the notes but not knowing how to play your song. And a personal painting should feel like your voice. Not something that is pretty or impressive, but feels led, feels owned, and feels more chosen. And trust doesn't magically appear just because you've practiced a lot. It gets built when you keep making decisions and seeing what those decisions create. That is how a painting becomes more personal. Not when it gets more likes or when it looks cohesive or more professional or resembles closely to an artist that you admire. What is most important is that it carries your choices. And that here is the shift. It becomes less random and it feels a lot more about what you see that matters, how you choose with intention, and how you lead yourself through a painting without outsourcing every step. This is how style gets built after technique. And this is also why I have built No Formula Florals Academy. There comes a point where you don't need more pretty petals. In fact, what you need is a way to help you to see how to turn your techniques into decisions and your decisions into trust. A process that you can return to and that is tied to your unique self and not to someone else, so that you can keep creating and not have to match someone else's finish line.
This is the part that hurts in a very quiet way because by now a lot of artists know the things. They know the brush, they know the petals, and they probably know how to start. And this stage can feel especially confusing because the struggle is no longer obvious enough to call beginner. And this struggle is a lot more subtle. It feels like standing over a painting that is already trying to say something, but not knowing whether you should stop or keep going. It often looks like adding one more flower, not because the composition needs it, but because you don't fully trust what's on your paper. And it also looks like calling yourself intuitive, but underneath that is really a fear of making a clear choice. Sometimes you might be telling yourself you want more freedom, while secretly wishing that someone can still tell you what to do next. This is such a human place to be, and I think that Laurie captures it perfectly. Stop or keep going over a bouquet that is already speaking. And this question is much bigger than it looks because it is not really about one extra leaf or one extra bloom. This is about learning how to trust yourself. It's about whether you can feel the moment where your painting is enough. And then there is another part time where Laurie says that she had stopped taking notes because she wanted to develop her own style and paint more intuitively. And honestly, I feel like note taking keeps her on the right track. And I love it because it's so honest. And this is a tension where a lot of artists live in. They feel as though intuition means no structure and personal means unplanned, or they feel like freedom means not having a framework. And most of the time, this is not freedom, it is drifting. And real freedom is about being able to choosing why a flower is a hero, or which area gets attention or space, or understanding how do you keep your edge soft, and knowing why you're stopping instead of fussing. And I feel like Laurie's longer journey also says exactly that. She has come to want to be able to paint a full composition from her mind, while saying that loose florals feel hard because she had learned from YouTube. She later talks about feeling overwhelmed by the videos and frustrated because she didn't know what was she doing until she was able to find more of her style showing through inside of brush movement. And later, some of the things that she have also taken note of in her own painting are figuring out things like her hero flower, her color story, her values, knowing where focus sits. All of this is not about becoming less intuitive, but becoming more led. This is what makes a painting feel personal, not looking pretty or that it's resembling somebody else's work close enough to feel safe, but knowing that it carries your decisions. And that's why a pretty painting versus a personal one is really not the same thing. A pretty painting can still feel borrowed, but a personal painting takes you on a journey because you are listening to your own creative voice without the distractions. And you're not just decorating your painting anymore. You are bridging your techniques and what you know, stacking them enough in order to get the effects and the style that you want. So this means that you don't need more information or more petals or hoping, but instead, when you paint in a way where you begin to choose, knowing when to stop and making decisions, this is where your painting feels alive. So I want to share how this is what the Academy truly is for. It's not to hand you another project to copy, but to help you to turn what you already know into choices and compositions that you can lead, and paintings that begin sounding and singing like you.
So if you have been feeling this gap between, this strange in between, where you know the techniques but you feel like it has been hard to meet yourself and finally gain your creative voice, the No Formula Florals was built for that exact stage. This is for the artist who is ready to finally build a process that feels like yours, so that you can begin painting in a way that does not define who you are, but what you build.